Hello, this is Reginald Bennett.
This is Bipu Sosti,
So we're working on the HCI, a human-computer interaction Gerontechnology final project.
and we're for that building an application that would be used in a tablet.
And so the title of the issue that we were supposed to address was the interactive information appliance for the elderly. And again, this is just with University of Maine with the SIE department, class 515, and we're recording this on 30 April 2014.
So the problem was that as the individuals get older, they're increasingly becoming isolated. I mean, mainly because they lose family members and they lose friends, or maybe the family members move somewhere else. And because of memory loss issues, they also have a hard time keeping track of their schedule and daily needs and commitments. So we are trying to address that issue in our application. So some of the existing solutions that we found were like Edley, Pointerware, and Telekin. And one of them, Pointerware, is actually a software which also has video chat, and Edley is only for PC, and Telekin is something that it's very similar to what we are trying to build, but which uses a touchscreen. But none of these actually support visually impaired users, and they have very limited multimodal interface, and it's very hard for a user using those systems to easily connect with medical or any other services, and we will also be addressing that in our application. So the proposed solution is an interactive system for the elderly, and the main focus for that would be reducing social isolation, but we'd also be providing services, functionality that would allow the users to connect with services like medical facilities or any other services. And we will also be providing an easy way to track the events on our calendar. Because of the memory issues, it'll be tailored to be used for the elderly. And most importantly, we will be having a multimodal interface in which there will be a sound output to verify actions, and there will also be haptic feedback, like vibration, to say whether something has been selected or has been clicked. And the user group would be the target group for our application is individuals more than 65, and any individuals with disability, mainly visual impairment. So we have a persona of a person we call Alexander Ferguson, who's a male and is 70 years old. He lives with his wife, who's also above 65, who is 65 in Maryland, and they have a child who no longer lives with them, and they meet like at least once a year, but not very often. And the health issues that Alex faces are arthritis, and he is recommended not to do heavy labor by his doctor. And his wife also suffers from diabetes. And some of the social issues that he faces are that as he's getting older, he's had very limited interaction with any other people, and even with his daughter, he gets to talk to her not very frequently because she lives out of state. And he likes to fish and he likes to play cards, but he has not found anyone to share the same interest with. And what he wants is to stay in touch with old friends who might even be out of state and make new friends. And he also wants to be able to keep track of schedules and events because he keeps forgetting them because of his memory issues.
So some of the design considerations we did in order to mitigate some of the issues that we posed earlier, problem statement, as well as some of the challenges facing our persona focus, is One, we want to design a system that would support blind users or visually impaired users. One, also colorblind users. And then one of the primary tenets is going to be simplicity, dealing with error assistance, and then we wanted to make something that was free of technical jargon or symbols. So that was another thing that as we revised our project, ensure that the terms we're using were hopefully a little more simple, a little more intuitive. And then we wanted to ensure that we had no conflicts with other parts of our software. The hardware we're focusing on is going to be, we're going to be using kind of like 10-inch tablets. So something like the iPad, you have the Galaxies, any of the different types of tablets. But this software is going to be focused on running on a tablet so that it's mobile and the user can take it to different portions of the house. Again, the simplicity design is really our primary focus. We wanted to keep the graphics basic and not overly complex, so something where you might see like a lot of gradients and a lot of different textures and pictures. We wanted to leave that out so that the software focused more on its utility and functionality rather than on just looking pretty. Another thing is we wanted to assure that all basic functionality, and we'll kind of discuss what that means, but all basic functionality only goes about 3 clicks deep. You should be able to access all primary output with only 3 clicks. Anytime the user starts to input, that's a more advanced functionality, and sometimes that might take another step. But again, you should notice that everything is within 3 clicks to grasp. And then lastly, we wanted to have a static and familiar graphic user interface. That way, as the user was utilizing the software, they were always aware of where something had been, where it is, and they're not searching around the screen for something different every time they click on a button or change. So we didn't want radical changes to the GUI just because the user decided to do something different. To kind of discuss how the interaction works, for the most part, there's going to be 2 modes, which we'll discuss a little later on, but for the most part, you're going to use it like a regular tablet where you're going to just drag your finger around, or not drag your finger around, but touch what you want to do, touch a button, do it what you need to. There will be low haptic feedback in the form of when you touch a button in a regular mode, you'll get like a short pulse that confirms that your action was received. You also get a very low audible click noise, again confirming. So now we have multimodal feedback as far as how we're interacting. When you're using the audio assistance version, there will be verbal feedback that comes through, and also the haptic feedback will resolve in different ways. And lastly, the user will also interact with our software using video for a couple of different aspects. Key to understanding our slides as we go through here is that one, we've tried to make this mimic the software as closely as possible. And so we won't show it from slide to slide, but rather actually showing you how a user would interact. And the key to that is understanding that when you see a green type of outline, like you see there, that shows you where the user just pressed, or sometimes we say clicked, because again it is a touch user interface. And then when you see purple highlights like this, again it's not part of the software, that's just showing that hey, this is what we want you to look at, without actually putting our fingers on the screen or using the mouse to do all types of craziness. So again, green is where the user clicked, and purple is where we're trying to draw your attention.
So this is what our first screen looks like when a user first starts the software. This is what he or she would be looking at. Since we're using Alex Ferguson in our persona, we'll be going with that. As you can see on the user and password area, there's a place where you can add new user and password, and Jane Ferguson, which we mentioned as the wife of Alex, has a password that's already saved. And there's also a place where you can change the audio assistant, like Reggie talked about, and you can press the icon, the speakerphone icon, to change the mode, which will turn on the audio assistance mode. And the user can also go into settings, tools, and do it such that every time the software loads or starts up, it will automatically be in the mode, but that will be talked about later in the slides. And there's a big button which is Start Tutorial, and a smaller one is Skip Tutorial. So for any user who's using this software for the very first time would want to understand how it works. So he or she would be clicking the Start Tutorial button, which we show here by the green box around it. And this brings up the tutorial and help menu. And this will, as you can see, there are a number of buttons, additional buttons which a user can press. For example, if the user wants to learn how to use the back button, yeah, he or she can use the learn how to go to back a step, or if they want to learn how to scroll for help, they can use the buttons available. And then as they scroll down, there'll be more other help options. And the main thing is we have a little different help. The help button that comes with a question mark, which you can see on the top right. Instead of putting in a question mark on each of the next to each of the buttons, so that when the user presses the question mark, a help menu pops up. Instead of that, what we implemented was once a user presses the question mark button or the help button and then presses something else, then the help regarding the second click will pop up. So this prevented cluttering of question marks or help buttons all over the interface. And so if the user wants to learn about the home button, for example, he or she would click the home button, and a tutorial about the home button would pop up. And what home button basically is that wherever the user is in the interface, you'll press or click the home button, and then we'll return it to the main screen. So the user presses the home button, and this is the main screen. And
so this is going to be kind of the primary interface for our application software. So there's going to be two modes, which we'll show you as we go through. There's the home button and the tools button. And these will be visibly different by the way it's laid out and also the color scheme. But again, this will be what the user is most familiar with. It will remain fairly static. And we'll go ahead and step through the portions here. So as was just discussed, when you press the home button, it brings you to this screen here. And so no matter what the user does, if they feel lost or they're done doing whatever it is they need to do, they can always resort to that comfortable, familiar home button from the top left. The next button is going to be the Tools button, which has kind of an orange view to it, as well as some gears to kind of say that, hey, this is some more of the inner workings. This is a more advanced portion, and it is normally should only be used if they receive lessons or if someone else is helping them, like their daughter maybe is maybe a little more familiar with computers. You might walk them through the tool section so they can use it. Next portion is going to be the status bar, which is going to exist to go ahead and tell the user where they are and what they can do on each screen they're in. So as we progress through the different functionality of the software, you'll notice that this bar will change and be relevant to what's going on. It will also let them know what their most probable courses of action are, so that if they're looking at a calendar, it's tell them, hey, you can click here. Not only are you looking at the calendar, but click here if you want to see something. The next one is going to be the audio assistance button, which we discussed earlier, very briefly. Essentially what this does is, in the off mode, it allows the software to act like a regular touchscreen interface. You know, you click on things with just a press, and it will activate whatever the button is. If you turn the audio assistance on, which is by clicking the icon that we currently have focused, then you go to a mode where when you drag your finger around, no longer is a single click option, but rather your finger acts like a mouse. And so for those who can't have this issue seeing or just want additional help with what's going on, they can drag their finger around the interface, okay? And as they do that, they'll get the interface read to them. So if they're here, it'll say medical services, and they go up, they'll say events, calendar, contacts, social. And so they can kind of trace and find out where they are spatially with their finger. And when they find what they want to do, so they're going around trying to find whatever it is, then the click is actually just a second button. And so, or a second press with your finger. So the touch display will understand that, okay, there's 2 points of contact, this means to click. So they might navigate up, social contacts calendar, and then go ahead and click with the second finger. And that's how they'll utilize an audio assistance mode. again, it's kind of like something you're familiar with, the text-to-speech. And so this will, one, it will read the sections you're going over. Two, it will have a slight haptic feedback, like a little vibration as you go from section to section to give someone kind of a spatial awareness of what they're doing. And then when they click on things, they'll get a separate haptic feedback, which is maybe more of a longer pulse to let them know that, hey, it's not that you just went over a new region, it's that you actually clicked on something. In both this mode and the normal mode, the user also gets, as we said, a small audio click, again, to confirm what they've just done.
And this is the help menu. As mentioned earlier, the main uses of this button is that if the user presses the help button and then presses any other thing in the interface, for example, if the user presses the help and then presses the home button, then the tutorial that regarding home button would be pressed. I mean, it would be turned on, and then the user would be able to get information regarding the home button. And the other functionality that it has is if the help button is pressed for 5 seconds or more, then it connects the user to a helper or a person who would be helping the user on issues. So there'll be a real person on the line who will be able to answer any difficulty the user might have navigating the interface. And this is a back button. So the main use for this is so that user could go to the screen that was just the one before it, and it also allows for checking of errors that the user might have made.
And so with this, just to lay out again, so every button that we've gone over in this interface, you can see the buttons across the top that have application, maybe to other areas, are all across the top portion, maybe the top 10%. So they don't take up very much real estate. And then the other options, which we'll talk about here in a second, line the left side, which take up maybe about 20% of the horizontal space. Again, we'll talk about the content window in a second, but just to understand the way this is all set up, you have the upper and left sides of the screen will have the tools and options available, and those will always remain static.
So the section that's highlighted is the reminder section. So the reminders will be pulled from calendar, which we'll be discussing later on, and will be displayed in that particular window. The user cannot edit it from there, but will have to go through tools to edit it, which will also be discussed later on. And the main functionality or the main objective of this section is to help users keep track of what their commitments are and what the events are that are coming up. And these are all the major buttons that we have in our interface. It's social, contacts, calendar, events, and medical services. And we'll be discussing more about these in the upcoming slides. And this is where all of the major content is going to be displayed. And as you can see, it consists of major portion of our interface.
Alright, so then I'll go ahead and I'll talk about the tools, which again is located right up there in top left next to home. So again, the two go-to buttons in this software are going to be the home, which is the very top left, and then right next to is tools. Those will always be there so that the user can do what they need to. Again, the status bar is in the center on the top, always available so that the user know what they're doing. You have 3 wordless icons up on the top right, which is again the audio assistance, the help, and the back buttons. And then again on the left side, you have those reminders, and then also the main menu in order to pick the different functionality. So anyway, in this case, the user wants to select tools because they just want to see what's going on. Select tools, and they go to the tools window. You can see that the tools icon has now expanded into a bigger area. The reminder section is longer there because that's more of an output, not an input or interactive portion. So that's gone away, and now you can see the color has changed to an orange. Now, obviously, if we're in audio assistance mode, then you have a verbal cue letting you know that you changed this window. Replacing the reminder section now is 2 menu buttons that were not there before, which is the startup options and general options. We'll go through each one of these options at the very end of this brief, but we just want to show you what happens if you click on tools. The user wants to go ahead and go back to the home screen, so they click up there in the top right on the back button. And again, the back button looks like an arrow, so that hopefully it's intuitive to show that, hey, you're swinging back to whatever the next thing you want to do. The user arrives back at the home button, which was the last screen we went to before the tools. And now they want to go ahead and get some help. And we'll kind of show a practical example of what Beakers was showing earlier. So the user presses help, and now they've prompted essentially the system to give them help on whatever they touch next. So if they hit help and then hit audio assistance, they'll get an article about that. Hit help and hit social, they'll get an article telling them how to use the social aspect. In this particular example, we're going to go ahead and hit help, and then we're going to hit home. And then by doing that, we pull up that same article we saw earlier. So the help article will come up, letting you know more about it. And when the user finally feels familiar or comfortable with what it was they were seeking help on, they can go ahead and hit back. But maybe the article didn't give them enough information. So what they can do at this point is go ahead and hold the help button for 5 seconds. When they do that, a new prompt will come up. And that's this one. It kind of overlays the whole interface. It has a different design, so it's kind of like a lopsided diamond. And the point of this is, one, it has an icon up there, it says a phone. It's letting the user know, hey, it's going to call someone. It's live support, and you have kind of an icon of a user or of a customer service rep. They have the phone to their ear. And then it's very obvious what it says here. So we're connecting you to a live support agent. Number 1, please wait for us to call your telephone. 2, it will then call the live support agent, and if you're done, go ahead and get back. And so the way this works, anytime we place a phone call, is we want the users to utilize aspects of their life that are familiar with them. So speaking into a tablet or whatnot might not be the most familiar thing for them. So what the software will actually do is it will use their information, and a server will call the user on whatever line they provide. So that's a cell phone or their home rotary phone or whatever it is. It will place a call to them. The user picks up their phone, and as soon as the server recognizes that the other user actually made it to their phone and picked up and they're ready to actually talk to someone, then it will dial the other side of this telephone call or type of conference. So at this point, for this particular prompt, the user would pick up their phone. Alex would pick up his home phone because the server would call them, and then it would call a live support representative, and he could ask his question. At this point, Alex has kind of decided that he doesn't want to wait on the line to speak with someone for help, so he goes ahead and he cancels it. Again, it brings you back to the previous screen, which was just the home screen, and then he wants to move on with the utilization of the software.
So now Alex hits the social button, and as you can see, whenever a user presses a button, there's going to be a visual indication saying that it has been pressed by the changing of the color, which as you can see, the social button has changed to green. And there will also be as mentioned earlier, also be an audio feedback and a haptic feedback. And after the social, once it's pressed, the user gets into the social part of the program, and we wanted to make it as close to what they've been used to as possible. So this almost resembles Facebook. And on the top left of the social program, you can see that there's a user's profile picture, and they're indicated with a color purple, and the purple color will be used throughout this interface, which it will say that whether it's the user's post or if it's the user itself that's online, which will also be discussed later on. And this is also like many other social networking sites in which the user can post social messages so that their friends could see or status updates. And this is a conversation that another user had posted, and there's a place where user could add comments on it. And then, as you can see, since Alex is using it, it's purple, and he's got a message on it.
And you'll notice that when the user selected the social button from, again, that static menu on the left, the large content window, which takes up approximately, I'd say, around 80% of the screen, which is reared in the bottom right, and then is a large square. It's all formatted in kind of in a familiar way, which, you have that user profile picture in the top left of the content window. Then you have the status update at the top, and then scrolling down just vertically, you have the whole groups of conversations which is fairly intuitive to see going on there. So again, you have the outside menu, which remains static, but the content window is what changes when you hit the buttons.
And then the orange that's next to every post, that indicates that there are additional functionality. So we sticking to the color scheme. The purple means that it's the user or user's post, and orange means there are some additional functionalities that the user could try and make. And it's connected directly to the tools. As you can see, the tools is also orange. So, and this the button that's been highlighted can be used by the user to make modifications to the post, like hide it or modify it and things like that. And user can post a message if he or she wants by touching on the status bar. And once he or she does that, there'll be a, like any tablet, there'll be a keyboard that's going to pop up, and the user can just type on it. And yeah, and then once the user types on it, it's immediately going to be reflected on the update on the status bar. And once it's done, if the keyboard is just going to collapse like any other interface, that any other tablet interface out there in the market. Now, once the user hits so to actually post it, the user will have to hit the update status, and once the user does that, like Alex, for example, if he just posts the message on the previous slide, it's going to pop up like that, as you can see in this slide, with the purple highlight or background color indicating that it's him that posted the message. And when the user clicks the picture of himself, then he can see all the posts that he or she has made throughout, has made the post throughout the time, and the user can again press the orange button to if he or she wants to do more than just what's in this interface, or add more things to it, and it'll pop up. It'll go to the tools and it'll pop up another screen, which you can see here, in which you can either edit or delete the messages. And the user doesn't want to do anything right now, so he's just going to press back.
And so now the user has gone through the social menu and decides he wants to look into his contacts. And so what he does is he presses contacts, and you'll notice that the contacts button turns green. Again, the buttons are all located on the left side, and now the content menu is filled with a grid of squares with a scroll bar on the right to show what users they have actually added to their friends list. Now you'll see there's a color scheme here of red and green, and so like alien guy, and it says underneath the offline, in the background the picture is red, so he's offline. Cat lady is online, and again it says online underneath, so it's for people who might be color blind. And then also if you just wanted to read it, and then of course if you're in the audio assistance mode and you put your finger over it, it would tell you the status and the name of the individual. Each of the grid has the profile picture the user has selected. And so what we're going to do now is Alex wants to find out more about what's going on with Cat Lady. He wants to interact with her. So he clicks on Cat Lady, and then you get the detailed view of that particular user. And you can see the interaction. So one, you get in the bottom portion, bottom half of the content window, you're going to have her name, her real name. So like her username is Cat Lady, but she wants, her actual name is Angela Wilkins, and has her home phone number in case he wants to call her, with a different phone other than just using the program. Email address, doesn't happen to have her address, and then some details about it. And then he has the ability to do a video call, phone call, or do that email chat text button that's available on the top right of the content window. So he's going to go ahead and try and call her on video, so you can have kind of a video conference with her. She's online, so hopefully she'll respond. Once he clicks it, again you get a quick confirmation with the button turning green. for about half a second before the screen changes. And then this new content window shows, her user profile up top left. The main portion is going to be kind of like a static window, which should imply that the user is doing something with video. And this will be animated, so the user knows it's not just doing nothing, and you'll have some type of audio cue of it calling, trying to connect. You can see on the top right the picture of the user himself. That way the user can actually get centered on their web camera, so that they have an appropriate conference call back and forth, and both people can see each other. If they want to end, they can just hit the hang up button, or they can hit hold. Again, the status bar is telling you are now placing a video call. Make sure that your face can be seen. So again, the status bar is going to be giving you relevant information the whole time. User decides they don't want to do this, so Alex goes ahead and clicks back. He's now brought back to the details window. He's going to try and give her a phone call, and again, it pops up that lopsided diamond, similar to the live support rep. But this time it says going to call Cat Lady, and it's going to call his phone first, and it's going to call Cat Lady's preferred phone, whatever she has listed on her profile. He doesn't have time for that, so he can click back. He's going to send her a message instead. So he clicks on email, chat, text, which is one button. And then he's provided with kind of a standard email format type deal. Now at the bottom you can see it says submit by, and there's 3 buttons. It says email, social chat, and phone text message. So he can click any of these and send the message that he's typed in the top portion there to her. He decides he wants to send it to her as an email. So he clicks email. And he gets a confirmation banner. It says, hey, email is sent successfully. So he knows he's good there, doesn't need to keep trying to re-click it. And when this fades after about 2 seconds, you'll notice the email button is now grayed out. And so I just let him know, hey, you've sent this message as an email. And if you still want to send that same message in redundant modes, he could send it as a social chat message, which would be kind of like what we saw before in the social section, or as a phone text message, and it would go to whatever phone text message Cat Lady had put in her profile where she receives text messages. He feels the email is enough, so he goes ahead and he's going to click calendar on the left. So he doesn't need to hit back to go all the way back to the home page. Again, he can just click right on one of those primary menu options, which again on the left are social, contacts, calendar, events, and medical services. He wants to go to calendar, so he goes ahead and clicks that.
So a calendar pops up, and in a calendar there's right now Alex sees that it's a month of March, for example, and then the current date is 19th, which is highlighted by yellow, and the lines that Alex sees on each of the days is one. As you can see, some of them are bolded while some of them are not. The bolded ones will be discussed later, but bolded ones are the events that he is listed as important, and the ones that are not bolded are listed as being just normal events. And now Alex presses the 3rd of March, and it pops up all of the events that are on that particular day. As in the previous screen, there was this one bolded line, so which meant that there was one important event. Which here, when he presses the date, it shows that there's one event which is bolded, which is important, and the other 3 are not important. And now he wants to see what's going on with lunch with friends at Tim Hortons, the event, and he clicks on it. And then there's a screen that pops up in which it gives more detail regarding what that event is all about, and there's a title which is what the event is, and the date and the time when it is, and the address and the details, and there's also a with field, which is who are invited in it. So if it's, as you can see, Cat Lady, Sam, and Cool Guy are also in the event, and their colors are green, red, and green. So they indicate, green indicates if they're online, and red if they're offline. And below it, you can see there's a section in which you can add comments on it, and now Alex wants to edit the event, and it'll pop up the tools. It'll go to the tools, and now this section pops up in which you can actually edit all the fields in it.
And when you hit save here, the thing to mention is it's going to have a pop-up, which for time we pass by that, but a pop-up comes up and says, hey, are you sure that you want to save this and overwrite the current information. And that's just to ensure that the users don't mistakenly change information. So that's, again, one of the error prevention methods.
And now he doesn't want to edit anything, so he hits back, which means he'll go to the previous screen, which was this screen, which was that just the basic screen without editing it. And now he wants to check what events are coming up, and he hits the event button.
And so on the screen, you see that you get a grid of different organizations. And so in the tools menu or with a helper, someone can actually help Alex subscribe to these different organizations. And so again, just like the contacts, you have a grid of these organizations represented with a icon or a picture, as well as the words underneath, a brief description. And then you have the scroll bar on the right. And so if he wants to find out more about Shady Acres Retirement Home, he can click right there. If he wants to find out more about what's going on at the bingo hall or with the bridge club, or again, he likes fishing, he can click right on the fishing club. And so each one of these will give him a schedule. And there's also the merge view at the top, which in the tools menu, he can select whenever he clicks merge view, which of these particular organizations he wants to get a consolidated list of. Now, we'll have a practical example of this, but for now, I think Alex wants to check what's going on at the Shady Acres Retirement Home, so he clicks on that button. This brings him to a very simple, very straightforward menu that lists by day what's going on. And you'll notice that there's intuitive interface shows, hey, it's Monday, 03 March in bold, and then underneath that in a bulleted format, it shows the things that are going on. And then you'll see a star or a comment bubble in yellow that stands out, and that kind of grabs your attention. And then there's also the star. The star lets you know, or the comment bubble lets you know that people are having a conversation about it, just like you saw earlier on events when they were talking about Tim Hortons. And the star lets you know that not only is there comments there, but there are new comments that have been created since the last time you logged in. He goes and clicks down to see more events. He's all right with what's there. So he wants to go back and check the merge view, but he doesn't want to hit the back button. So he does the alternate, and he just clicks events again, which will bring him back to the root events menu. Then he goes and clicks merge view. And now he's going to get a consolidated view of the organizations that he cares most about, which you can see here is his walking club, Shady Acres Retirement Home, his bridge club, his Bible study, and the Elks Club. And so those are all listed in chronological order of what's going on. So now, in order to reduce some of his social isolation, he has an abundant menu of things that he can go participate in with other people. But he wants to find out more about what's going on in the knitting class because there's a comment there with a star. So obviously someone has said something since the last time he logged in and checked that. So he wants to see if there's an update on there. So he clicks on it and he gets something similar to the calendar events detail. And this, the only difference is between important and just comment at the top. Now it's just a check mark to let people know if he's attending. And just like in the contacts or in the calendar event view, you have that with portion. So first off, this window pops up. It has a title. It's 10 to 11 knitting class. Is he attending? There's a check mark in there. Yes. Then it gives a title, the date, the time, the address, details. All coordinating instructions so he can make this event. And then again, that with field that shows the users who are participating. And Cat Lady is going to the knitting class, and so is Alex. Again, shown in purple so that he can easily identify it to his information. And Cat Lady's in green, just like it was before. And if he wanted to skip right from here to her details menu, he could click on her name. But he's already seen her profile, so no interest in that now. And the new comment there is Cat Lady says, I can't wait to make a new pair of kitten mitts. And so he's going to respond back, my wife is making me go. And you can see that just like the social window. So again, there's redundant methods to do the same thing. And anytime you have adding a comment, it's going to be the same throughout the whole software. So there's not changes and differences and different nuances that you have to learn each way. The mechanisms are static and consistent throughout the software. He is done looking at this and decides he's not going to post the thing about making his wife make him go. So he just goes ahead and on the primary menu on the left, he clicks on medical services. You get the quick transition screen with confirmation of the turning green, and then the medical services screen pops up. So
the medical services screen, as you can see, it's very much like the contacts, except this time there's going to be services and not people. And so Alex now wants to check what his doctor has been telling him. So he clicks on the doctor's office, and the buttons here are he can easily contact with the doctor using a video call, phone call, or email and chat. And there's also details of the of the doctor, which is Dr. Riley Smith, and the cell phone number, address, and details. And on the right to it, there's a section which lists reminders, and this is controlled by the doctor. And the doctor can tell Alex, well, there's a checkup coming up. Be careful not drinking too much cold. You have a sore throat and things like that. And Alex now clicks the checkup on April 1st, and then the similar screen pops up in which, as you can see here, there's things like whether the event is important, what the title is, what the date is, and the time is from 9 to 10:30, and the address, and it's with Dr. Riley. And then here, there's like the previous screen, the user, which is Alex, can interact with Dr. Riley. Alex in purple, since he's the user, and Dr. Riley green, who's online. He can add comments to it and easily talk to the provider, who's a doctor. And now Alex wants to go to the tools because he's done using the medical services.
So the tools menu, you get to see what we saw at the beginning, and then we'll kind of quickly just go through what these options are. So we click on tools. He wants to see, Alex is, it's one of his first times using this, so he just wants to see what options exist. So he clicks on startup options. This, the two menus that pop up here in the content window, show startup screen, yes or no, and there's two big buttons, and one's highlighted in green, letting him know that's what's selected. He can click on no, and the next time he starts the software, he won't get that splash screen, that welcome screen, where you log in and all that stuff. And then, of course, if you want to get that back, so you can change the login, you have to hit yes. There's also start an audio assistance mode. Maybe some people don't want to start an audio assistant, so they just put on no. He wants to see what's in general options. He clicks there. The button turns green, and then he gets the new options. And here, the general options are going to affect things over multiple sections. They're not specific. So, like, adjust the volume. Do you want to allow the program to push messages? So, like most tablets, the reminders will actually send a push message to your tablet. So when it's locked, you'll get that little notification vibration letting you know, hey, you have an appointment in an hour. And so he can turn that off if he's not a big fan of getting those push messages. He can edit the communication preferences, which again is like his phone number. Like if he wants his home phone or his cell phone to be the one that the server calls. And then he can configure his camera settings. And any other general settings will be found here with the scroll bar. Wants to find out what's in the social, clicks there. Here he can edit his personal information, like his profile picture, or again his contact information, like where he lives, details about himself. He can select the color preference. Maybe he's just not a big fan of it being purple, so he can change it to what he prefers. And then his privacy settings, he can say, hey, only my posts only go to certain people. And then he can select his best friends, and that's so that he can put a focus on what shows up on the social menu. He clicks on contacts. Again, more options. He can add new contacts, remove contacts, change the notification preferences, which is the push messages or any of the other settings. And then again, he can configure the camera settings. So we want to provide the user the ability to have redundant methods to do things, because maybe he wants to configure the camera but doesn't think that that's in general settings. He just knows that when he contacts people, he uses the camera, so he clicks here. So we have that ability to make the most intuitive interface possible. Clicks calendar. And a new event, delete or edit current events. He can change the reminder preferences again, like the push messages or color preferences. We want to make this software as enjoyable for the user and as simple as user as possible. Click on events. This is where they subscribe to different users. So if you remember, he can subscribe to the bingo club, to the walking club. He can go in here and find other people's interested in or remove them. And then he also selects which ones he cares most about. So he might have 30 people he's interested in, but when he does the merge review, he doesn't want to see it cluttered with everything. So for instance, if you had Spotlight Cinemas as part of his merge review, then every day would be filled with the movie times, and that just would not make merge review very enjoyable. So in there, he can select who will show up. Then he clicks on medical services, turns green, and then in here he finds and subscribes to service contacts. And on that screen, we talked earlier about how he has a hard time doing his lawn or his arthritis. So he actually had a lawn care provider there that he can interact with and send messages back and forth. And he can do that with video call, phone call, or text. But in here, this is how he can edit what shows up on there. So in conclusion, our software, it helps to reduce isolation. increase independence by putting a lot of these services at the user's fingertips. They don't have to go through lengthy searches of papers and this, that, and the other and get help. And it also reduces on memory load and task tracking by having that calendar and the events in there. So the user can just rely on the software in order to do all that, and also coordinate with his friends and services, versus trying to just do all that themselves.
The design is also very simplistic. It's a maximum of 3 clicks, and which means that user will not have the issue of getting lost in the interface. And we also included a status bar saying where the user exactly is. And we also have a multimodal interface, which, as mentioned earlier, there's a different mode you can go to, and when you go in that mode, you can get vibration alerts, and every time you move your fingers around the interface, the speech to voice will actually tell you where you are. And even when you do not turn it on, it will give you audio feedback as to whether you click the button or not. And error prevention and correction, we've included a back button, which will basically take care of most of the prevention if the user doesn't like, for example, an entry on the screen on a certain new contact. You can press the back button, which will prevent the errors.
So that's the software came up with. Again, it functions on a tablet, kind of like that, and hopefully a software like this would help out as intended. With that, that's the end of our presentation. Hope you enjoyed it.